Hello, this is Clayton. I just got back from watching The Wretched, which is a new film available on all streaming services, as well as in drive-in theaters. So, with us still being at home and not being able to watch movies at the theater, we still at least have a solid horror film with some great scares, a great cast, and some excellent practical effects, even if some cliches with the genre do rise to the surface a little bit. Well, let's get to the story, shall we? The story is that Ben, a teenager with a little bit of a rebellious side, happens to arrive at a marina town with his father, who's in a relationship with a woman named Sarah, played by the woman who plays Jimmy Olsen's sister in the Supergirl series. When it turns out that there's a witch that's around the area who's taking over the bodies of several people, and who happens to make people forget other people's children, and Ben has to defeat the witch and save everyone he loves, while everyone thinks he's just crazy. But, so, the story here is very typical to horror films of the past, where something supernatural happens, the main character isn't believed because of the witch being good at hiding herself, or just making him look worse by association, until the climax where the main character is proven right and he defeats the big bad guy. You've seen this story again and again several times before, but the acting involved here does help the story get a little by its cliches. John Paul Howard, for example, is great as Ben. I think he has a great future ahead of him when it comes to an actor. Plus, his best friend Mallory in the story not only happens to have some great jokes as far as being a good comic relief, but she also happens to not fall into the trap of a lot of horror movie girlfriend characters go into, and she doesn't come across as bland or generic. And since she's played by a Disney Channel actress, that's actually saying something. But I think the best performances has to go to Sarah's actress, as she happens to mix a wholesome charm with some legitimately terrifying moments in equal measure. And I do think that I may have underestimated the actors and actresses of Supergirl, considering how well she portrays this character throughout. On top of that, the practical effects feel almost out of a trauma film when it comes to like a trauma film when it comes to their gore and when it comes to their practicality. There are several scenes of the witch with rotting body parts. There's parts where she tears through a human body. And there's a lot of gore effects that could have easily looked bad if it was CGI, but since it's all done with practical effects, you can really admire the amount of work that it took to get some of these scenes put in. Especially in a modern film where everything is computers and where everything is obvious green screen, and it's just not used that often here. While there still is a little bit of that here and there, it's not distracting, and the effects and technical side of the film are absolutely solid. On top of that, some of the humor of the film was actually pretty good, even if some of it did rely on some product placements such as starbursts and Netflix references, even though this is on Amazon and not Netflix. But the product placements don't come so often to the point where it feels corporate. So overall, the film is a solid horror effort, and I do think more films should go into that style as this virus keeps going on. So I'll give The Wretched a solid 7.5 out of 10. See you next time.